Yeah.
Speaking of being done and going into what could possibly be a game changer, let's go ahead and talk about Nvidia. Nvidia had came out swinging because everybody knew that the RX 5000 series cards were dropping, and their top card goes for about 2K. That's right, you heard me correctly. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the music for a second to make sure you hear me nice and clear. Their next graphic card, their highest end graphics card goes for $2,000. 2,000 Dimmadolls. Holy shit. That's a lot. That is a lot. But they are, but what they're doing now is that they are pushing AI frame generation. I know that this has been brought up with AMD as well, but to keep it short, it basically adds more frames in the in-betweens to help not push out as much, will not have to require more hardware to do it. So looking at this, for example, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. We have a comparison here where 24 FPS without DLSS, without the frame generation, goes for, here we go, will net you about 20. This is using Cyberpunk, because Cyberpunk has always been a benchmark game for this. 27 FPS, you're getting a higher latency without DLSS. DLSS 2, which is like where it started, you're getting 70 FPS, which is pretty good. DLSS 3.5, you're getting 140. DLSS 4 is netting you 247. Now, that begs the question, what happened to cards where it was just all raw power and not worrying about AI generation for all this stuff? And how will this affect animation quality? Honestly, looking into it, I'm not really a fan of the idea of using AI to fill in the in-betweens. Let's look at Interstellar 555, the famous Daft Punk movie, Daft Punk inspired movie, where they re-released it in theaters with AI upscaling and AI tech. The problem is that they're adding in frames where they're not supposed to be frames. So if you've seen those videos or compilations on YouTube where it's like, oh, hey, I threw an episode of One Punch Man into a AI upscaler and made it go to 60 FPS and it looks weird, that's why. It's adding more frames that are not supposed to be there. Typically, stuff like that is always ran at like 25 to 30 FPS or in that range. Just superficially doubling it makes it blurrier and smudgier because you're adding more that isn't there, that doesn't exist. You're making imaginary frames. Something that's not imaginary that's also interesting is Nvidia Reflex 2, where Nvidia Reflex and AMD low latency, like they're very similar in how they operate. Yeah, they've always been doing this in gaming for a while. Like AMD really pushed it. I forgot what it was called. Bear with me because it is a function that's built into my GPU as well. I think it's FSR. That's what it is. It's FSR. FSR and super resolution. What that does is that it uses AI upscaling to help add more pixel density. So what I would do is I would load up a game at 1080p, but I'll tell the graphics card, hey, upscale it to 1440p so that way I can get more out of it. It works pretty well, and they're adding more and more support for more games. So this is something to keep to really keep your eyes peeled for. But Reflex 2 is basically reducing latency by 75%. So meaning that with the latency that you experience in game, what that means is how long it takes for an action to happen. So if I were to say, okay, play the finals, and I were to shoot a gun, I'm expecting, if there's latency, it's even after I click the mouse button. So they're trying to, and doing this on top of having a higher end PC or higher end monitor will help you make it as one-to-one as possible. That's why, so because you can offset a lot of that latency with hardware to hardware, so your physical connection with like a better cable, a better monitor, a better graphics card, and then in game it also has to do a lot more processing to make that shit work. So here's the point. It also does predictive rendering, so that way it's not trying. Let me see if I can actually get this up in a better quality for you guys so it doesn't look like absolute dog ass. We'll do 1080p. Here we go. Reload. All right, cool. So, and loop. All right. So also I'm gonna go ahead and hide the chat. Right. Perfect. All right. So hopefully this makes a little bit more sense. So you can see how typically it tries to render and do as best as can. We're in a wave of AI. It's just going to go ahead and make sure that it knows, oh, if you're going to go this way, we're going to have everything rendered already there for you. So ideally, it will give you an advantage when it comes to responsiveness. Moving next down the line, we're actually going to jump into. We're actually going to go ahead and jump into Team Red, from Team Green to Team Red with the AMD RX 9000 series. So what you would expect: good, better, good, better optimization, better performance per core. Of course, more AI built in, better ray tracing, basically better. I'm currently rocking an RX 6900. It's been doing pretty damn good, and it is Monster Hunter ready. So I'm not gonna upgrade for a while, but if I do upgrade in the next few years, I'll probably get a 9000 or a 10,000 or whatever the hell it is at that point, once I'm ready to do a full upgrade. So if you don't have a current card, AMD either RTX 5000, RTX 4000 or 3000 even, or AMD RX 6000 or RX or anything, or R9 or anything in that line, then this might be good for you if it's within your budget. Oh, that's right. I forgot to go back over the AMD cards as well too. I think their lowest card starts at about, here we go. Got it, specs. So their lowest card is their 5070, and that starts at about, I want to say like $549. It's like a really low price for an entry level card. Here we go. So base card is the 5070 for $549. Then the 5070 Ti, which is going to be an overclocked version, goes for $749, $200 more. For $1,000, you're getting the 5080, and then the 5090, you're going up to about $2,000. So I would personally say sticking with the 5070 or the 5070 Ti will be the best bang for your buck to get you ready to play most newer things. Going on to the specs more, what's fascinating here is that the 5070, while it is using a newer architecture, which probably have some optimizations and newer cores, it actually has less AI teraflops, less CUDA cores than the 4090, less memory bandwidth, but it is more power efficient. So they're really trying to help bridge the gap with AI processing on this stuff. And you're going from 24 gigs, 60 GDR6X, which is the newer, faster, high bandwidth memory format on higher end cards, to DDR7. But again, your mileage may vary based on what games you play. If you're happy and you know it, clap your fucking hands. Otherwise, start looking at getting a new card if you need to.